No, you got a good one. You just got to settle in on a position with him because he's got to be in the lineup every day. He's got to be. But there's a topic I wanted to talk about. We'll talk a little baseball to close the show, okay? But there's a topic that's going on, and it's been a huge. It does hurt me, Junior. It does hurt me. It does. There's a topic going on that has really, really, really ruffled some feathers. Really, really, really ruffled some feathers. And I'm not knowing how you feel about this. How to feel. Part of me, as a former player and coach, I feel one way. I'm not a parent, so I can't feel that way. I don't know. But Pat Fitzgerald is back in football. He'll be an assistant, a volunteer assistant at Loyola Academy in Chicago Catholic League. His son is a starting quarterback there. And obviously he has a phenomenal reputation because older son graduated from there as well. The young man who's a freshman at Northwestern. And a lot of people are having an issue with this. You know, I'm torn. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. I want to see your thoughts in the comments because he's still a father. And some people called up the radio this morning and were saying one guy was a coach and a teacher at a private school and said he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I said, okay. Other people said, why not? I personally, it's tough for me. I personally don't have an issue with it. He went through background checks. Okay, they ask for anyone, whether it's CPS, Chicago Catholic League, you're going to have to go through a background check. Okay? You're going to have to do it. But he went through that. And came out on the other side. Okay, Loyola released a statement. It said that Fitzgerald completed a number of trainings and background checks and signed a code of conduct agreement required by Loyola, the Archdiocese of Chicago, in the state of Illinois. As I said, his son Ryan, his middle son, is the starting quarterback, and his oldest son Jack graduated last year and is a freshman this year at Northwestern. But obviously he's had a relationship with these coaches. You know, he knew John Holacek, the head coach at Loyola. He was there for 17 years, 3 titles. So he has a rapport there. His kid went there. His kids continue to still go there. And he's the assistant. Some people are adamant about him not being part of the team. What are your thoughts? Because my thought is this. If he wants to be a father and coach his kid, let him coach his kid. He signed a code of conduct. That was required by the city, the state, the Archdiocese of Chicago. And he is not in charge. He has no control over the culture of that particular program. If he was just going to be a volunteer assistant, period, without his son there, then I'd have an issue. Then I would have an issue. But his son is there. He'll be working with his son. Not just his son, but he wanted to be part of, this is something that he would not have been able to do had he stayed at Northwestern. Now, granted, he would have been able to coach them once they got to Northwestern because they would have gone for free. But there's something about coaching your son in high school. And some people here may or may not have done that in the chat. If you have, let me know if you have. Or if your dad coached you in high school, let me know. A father's dream is to be able to coach their kid before they pass them along to another coach, high school or college. Well, don't worry, that was going to be in this discussion, Junior. We know how crooked the archdiocese is. So what are your thoughts? Can he not go be a father and coach his kid? He's a volunteer, so he's not getting paid. Not that he needs it. He had tons of money from Northwestern. He is under investigation. There's double-digit lawsuits for the program he ran, against the program he ran. Although there was over 1,000 former Northwestern athletes sent a letter condemning hazing while defending the school's culture. Tons of people backed him up. Tons of people have backed him up. Steve-O says, it was very hard to do, but I'm so glad I got the chance to coach his son. And I know a lot of people that I went to high school with, their dads coached the team. When I was coaching at Curie, when I was in college, I understand it. Hell. I mean, how much more in your child's life can you be? You know what I mean? How much more can you be? He's at a level, and the transition from boy to man, it's a tough one. Women can't do that. All right, it takes a man to teach a boy how to be a man, and that's one of the best ways in coaching your kids in sports. But you have the issue about, he allowed that stuff to go on. He allowed this alleged hazing. He allowed the alleged sexual assault. He allowed all the things that happened under his watch. What are your thoughts? My thought is, I have a couple of things. I think he should be able to coach his son because he doesn't have control, because he's not the head of the program there, because he had to go through all these background checks and everything else like any other coach would, or any other parent volunteer coach would. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Cornelius, you say you just have to take extra precautions with people dealing with your kids. I agree. I agree. So, but where do we draw the line? Where, the thousands of players who stand behind Fitz, let's not forget those guys. All these allegations of hazing and everything have come about. What about the thousands and thousands of players who have phenomenal experiences, who learned from him, who he helped become men? So we're just going to discard them because of the minority? And I'm not saying that stuff didn't happen. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that if he's a horrible person for allowing that to happen, having it happen under his watch, then how good of a person, how much is it balanced that he, of all those people who stand behind his, who have his back, all the people who stand next to him and say, hey, I had a great experience, he did this. Because they don't have to have a great experience. They can just have a good experience, an average experience. And these guys are saying they had a great experience. So do you not, is it okay? Luis says everyone deserves a second chance. I agree. Some people think it might be too new, too fresh, too hot for him to be around kids. I don't know. Again, he doesn't have control. At any particular point, he can be dismissed. And it doesn't have to be the football coach that dismisses him. If too much pressure comes, guess what? The principal will dismiss him. Hey, you got to go. Might not even let the head coach make that decision if things get too hot. You know, it's Junior. I thought it was funny when Jim Hendry called Patty and I and asked if Mono could go to Yankee spring training with him and his son. I remember you told me that. It's dope. But what's your thoughts? What are you thinking? Do you think, are you on the side where, nope, it's too soon, can't do it, let it die down? Or are you saying, hey, he's still a father? Allow him to do what he wouldn't have been able to do, at least for another 4 years, because he was going to coach his son Jack. The older one would have been a freshman this year, is a freshman. He would have been coached by his dad here at Northwestern. And his other son probably would have gone to Northwestern 2 years later. His son's a junior, senior year, go to Northwestern. Maybe he would have gone somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe if his second son, who's a starting quarterback now, goes somewhere else. And this might be his only chance, or would have been his only chance to coach him. But there's a lot. And then, I'm not going to ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room. This white privilege. Because if that happened to a coach in CPS, a black or Hispanic coach, that's not happening. That's not happening. He'll be toxic for a while. He would be toxic for a while. And then he'll get a job eventually, but he'll be toxic for a while. But I think he's enjoying that privilege that some people don't or would not be able to enjoy. Fitz was a good guy. I had many interactions with him when he came to recruit players of mine at Curie. His dad is a St. Rita alum. We got to talking about that. But let's not get it twisted. The coaching carousel, the coaching fraternity is very incestuous. Okay? Very incestuous. And the networks that people have, and he's been there for 17 years. 20-something altogether as a player, a coach, a player, assistant coach, head coach, okay? Over half of his life, he's been at Northwestern. You don't think he has tons of coaching colleagues who can get him a job? You know what I mean? Like, he's got, and this just worked out for him. He can say, hey, listen, I'm not in a really big coaching. He wanted to do it under the radar, but you're not going to be under the radar. This is too hot. Junior says, I think it's his son, and it's his son, and he should be able to coach him, and he hasn't been proven guilty yet. No, he hasn't. The investigation is still under. But some people may not want him there because the investigation is ongoing. Listen. There was nothing criminal. Well, I mean, okay, I'm not sure. There's no abuse, no physical abuse, no assault, no sexual assault or abuse. If it was something different, then I'd have a different stance. I think he should be able to coach his son. Okay, not just any old willy-nilly high school. Just I miss coaching. I want to coach. No. This is his son, and you get to control who he's around. You get to control what players he's around. Like, hey, if you're with just your son's position group, that's it. You and the quarterbacks, that's it. Guess what? You're not going to be with the only one around them. Because we got the offensive coordinator. You got a whole bunch. You got other people who are going to be a bigger part in his development. He just wants to coach his son. But don't get it twisted. He is benefiting from a privilege that people of color most likely wouldn't have. The big, nah, homie, you chill. Let shit die down, and then we'll go start coaching at a Pop Warner League and then get back into high school and college later. So it's a slippery slope. Do you think it's okay for Pat Fitzgerald to coach his son at Loyola? Put it in the chat. Let's talk about it. As I said, because he's coaching his son, it's not just a gig to get back into football, which it is a gig to get back into football, but he has that shield. This is my son. I want to coach my son. Nomad, good morning, Papa. How you doing, big dog? It's a PR move to make him look better. A free face saving job. I think so too, but also remember, let's not forget he still is a father. Okay? And even though his son goes to his oldest son Jackson Northwestern, so he would have coached him here at Northwestern had he still been there. You still don't get the you're the head coach. You have position coaches for your players, for the positions. You're not really coaching your son because you're the CEO. I think here he's got hands-on with his son. You know what I mean? He's got hands-on. He can coach his son along with the offensive coordinator who's running the show, of course. But it's a little more intimate, I would say, a little closer. You know, he's got Charlie Bliss is the offensive coordinator. All right, he was the guy at Maine South. He was the OC at Maine South. They won 4 state titles. So he's going to be running it. But Pat has a chance to really, really, really get and coach with his son. That has to be taken advantage of. And I'm not saying that he's not using that. Both statements can be true. He could be using it as a chance to coach his son, and he could be using it as a PR move. He can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But obviously the shield he's hiding behind is, I get to coach my son. I get to coach my son in a more intimate way than I would as if I was in college. I was back at Northwestern because the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator at Northwestern are going to be coaching my son. I'm going to be overseeing everything else. Here, he can be with his kid. It's crazy. You have your opinion, I have mine. There's a lot of people who say, you know what, he shouldn't be around football for a while. There's other people who say he should be allowed to be a dad. Let's not forget, he still is a father, and these are his kids. And these are the crazy points of his life, and a big curveball just came his way. Why not allow him to have some semblance of normalcy? Why not? Why not? Well, so we got to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to welcome Eric Lambert from Sports Mockery. Whew, we got some Bears to talk. I am fired up, baby. Fired up. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago.
To run for 17, back he goes, here comes Chubb, there goes the ball, touchdown, Mooney! Jones will walk at the left tackle, time for Fields, now he'll accelerate to get the first down, great tackles, and he's off to the races, and we got a terrific block
For every generation, it has started with the call to serve. Discovering the purpose and the belonging earned with the title. Learning to dig deep and push through adversity together. Defending our nation and its people. It is a life of great worth and reward. But Marines are never really finished serving. Their commitment comes full circle, visible in communities across our country. This is Semper Fidelis, always faithful, always Marine, marking a path for the next generation.
So I've come up with the family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago. That clip courtesy of the Chicago Bears. That was practice. That was a joint practice with the Bears down in Indianapolis, taking on the Colts, and they will play them tomorrow in their second of 3 preseason games this year. And it was Coach. It was something that Coach Eberflus really liked. You could tell he was fired up about it, and I like it too. I love when I was coaching or when we were playing in preseason where we got to go and we got to bang heads against somebody else. All right, it's so much so much more fun because you're fighting the same guys over and over and over again. And if the matchup is bad for you, it can make you look bad. If the matchup is good for you, it can make you look good. So it can be a false representation of how good you are, or it could be a false representation of how bad you are. Because you're facing the same guys. So when you face fresh blood, guys who don't know your moves, don't know your strengths, your weaknesses, you get to really show what you got. Eberflus, I think, really loves this. And we're going to talk about this with our next guest. He is the writer. He took time out to writing one of his 6 articles that he's going to write by noon for Sports Mockery to come and talk with us. Find him on Twitter at Eric Lambert1. Guys, welcome back to Shawn and Maya. Our guy, Eric Lambert. Eric, good morning, Papa. How are you?
Good morning, my man. It's good to be back.
Sorry to take you away from writing articles, but I appreciate it.
I can always find some time here and there.
Great stuff. Guys, make sure you check out his article. He does, because you usually put out, 2 or 3 a day now the season's going, or how many you put out a day usually now?
Around 5 or 6, depending on how long each of them are.
I undersold you 2 or 3, 5 or 6. Okay. Good stuff. Well, trust me, I'll be sure to check them out later today. But they just got done in practice. 2 joint practices today, or 2 joint practices this week. Chill today, game tomorrow. Your thoughts on the joint practices and your thoughts on what you've heard and what people have been writing about these joint practices with the Colts.
Extremely valuable. They got a ton of great reps against a lot of good players on that Colts team. I know the Colts weren't very good last year, neither were the Bears, but the Colts still have a lot of talented players. The Bears got to practice against them. A lot of guys stood out in a positive fashion. Pretty much everybody on the defense, apparently played pretty well. The pass rush was creating havoc on Anthony Richardson. They picked him off a couple of times. So it's always great to hear that, especially knowing that a few of their guys still aren't there, Tremaine Edmonds being one, and, Yannick Ngakoue, I don't know how much he played, but, he probably got some reps in there, but not too many because they're still ramping him up. So to hear the defense play so well is always encouraging, especially after last year. Offensively, Justin Fields in 7-on-7s looked probably the best he's ever looked in that particular drill, considering how he looked last year. So it's always great to hear that. 11-on-11s, he had some mishaps here and there, but by the sound of it, Eberflus was a little frustrated with the offensive line because they weren't blocking adequately for him at times. So it sounds like they still got some work to do there. And I can understand that being the reason why Eberflus is deciding to keep Justin Fields on the sideline in this upcoming game against the Colts on Saturday.
Yeah. Plus, he might have said, hey, we got enough good reps. And he also there was one play where I was reading a couple of accounts where Justin Fields got hit kind of late. It most likely would have been a roughing the passer calling the game. Mm-hmm. And so since he got those 2 days of good reps, like, we don't need it. There might be some underlying thing between him and somebody else, or someone trying to make a name for themselves. Let me just hold him back. We got the work in, which is most important. So maybe that probably played a factor as well. Give me your thoughts. First person they put back for punt returns when they were practicing special teams was Bayless Jones.
I understand why in normal circumstances you would bench him after all that he's been through, but one thing I do appreciate about the Bears is they're patient with their process, and they've always proven that. They're willing to give the player the benefit of the doubt because he's young, he's still learning because he didn't punt return much in college. He's still learning how to track the ball in the air and all that sort of stuff. His hands seem to have improved. He did have a couple of long bomb catches in the same practices, so it's not necessarily his hands. I think the problem with the most recent muff, he didn't track the ball well, and I think that's what led to the muff in the first place. And I think Eberflus was on top of him the moment that happened, telling him that you got to be careful with something like that. So he's still learning, and I like that they're willing to give him a little more leeway, give him a little more long leash. But if he makes one more mistake like that, I think they're probably going to end up replacing him on punt returns and just keep him, squarely as a kick return guy. But, I really appreciate what they're trying to do here. They've always maintained that they want to have a developmental process, and that requires patience at times when kids make mistakes. So, I really think they're doing it the right way, but it's up to Bayless to make the adjustments necessary to stop making those mistakes.
Does he have a shorter leash than most because he was 34 when they drafted him? So he was 25 when they started when he last year to play the season. That was his first year because he bounced around so much, took the COVID year and a whole bunch of other stuff. So he was a lot older than most people. How much shorter is his leash because of his age?
It's a fair question, but I think the Bears don't view his age in that way. I think they view him as a second-year player rather than a 26-year-old player because they have to view him from NFL terms of experience, which is a valid way to do it. So I don't think they view him that way. I do think they understand that his window isn't as wide as it is for players who are coming into their second year, but at the same time, they understand that they also need to be patient because this isn't a 26-year-old who usually has 4 or 5 years of experience. This is only his second year. So I do think that they're approaching it that way, and that's probably the right way to do it. And I do think he's probably going to be better this year. He seems to have improved in training camp despite, the recent mistake, but I do think his leash is shorter on punt returns specifically because of what happened in that first preseason game.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. We're joined by Eric Lambert from Sports Mockery talking Chicago Bears football here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago. Talk to me about this running game. All right, there was rumors and about possibly getting rid of Deontay Foreman if somebody needs a running back. Are you happy with this running back trio would you entertain maybe a trade for Deontay Foreman, because he's only on a 1-year deal anyway, and if somebody gets hurt in camp, he's on a cheap deal as well. He's not making $10-12 million. It's a very, very affordable, and it's a guy who had 900 yards last year, a guy who's looking for a bounce back year. Talk to me about that running back room and Deontay Foreman.
I think it's exactly what the Bears were hoping for, because all three of their top guys, Herbert, Foreman, and now Rashawn Johnson, have all looked good in camp, and they looked good in joint practices. Rashawn Johnson got great attention. Cole Kmet's been singing his praises nonstop. Foreman had a big run. Herbert had a big run. So I think the Bears are exactly where they want to be. I don't think they'd entertain a trade idea. They signed him for a reason. They think he's a good fit for this offense, and they've been seeing, evidence of that. You have to remember, with the wide zone, it's a run-based offense, so you need a stacked running back room for it to work properly, unless, of course, you have a feature back like Clinton Portis, Terrell Davis, one of those types of guys. But otherwise, you really want a stacked deck so you can, just run waves of these guys at the opponents and just wear them out, and eventually play action's just going to kill them over the course of a game, which is what they want to do. So maybe if somebody makes a ridiculous offer for Foreman, they might entertain the idea. But otherwise, I think he's really set in stone as one of the primary rotational guys that the Bears want to run with.
What about this offensive line? Nate Davis still hasn't practiced. His uniform fits. He was in uniform, doing a little one-on-one stuff, but he hasn't been. And then now Cody Whitehair has some issues. What about this offensive line? And, Justin Fields had some pressure over these couple of days in practice. Is this offensive line, is it just part of them growing and gelling? Because Nate Davis hasn't been there. He's still not playing. Ja'Tyre Carter is getting his reps. Talk to me about your concern with the offensive line. I know we still got 1-2 more games to go in preseason, but is it a concern for you, this offensive line, that it hasn't been gelling as much? Or are you cool because the running backs have been breaking off 3, 4, 5, 20-yard runs like Rashawn Johnson did in the first preseason game?
I'm not worried about the running game. This scheme has always been great about, generating rushing yards, and I think their offensive line is well suited to that. I think they're going to run the ball just fine, especially with the threat Justin, presents. So that I'm not worried about. My concern primarily is with the interior pass protection, because that seems to be the primary issue that keeps cropping up over the course of these practices. And that's because of lack of continuity. Nate Davis has been missing a lot of time because of whatever injury he has. I'm not sure. The good news is he returned to team drills in this last practice, but at the same time, Cody Whitehair goes out with a hand injury. So continuity is a big issue right now for that interior trio. Ironically, Kevin Jenkins is the only one who's been pretty much consistent throughout.
The one with the worst injury has been the healthiest.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where you really need continuity, especially on the interior, because Justin, if he's going to function properly, needs a proper pocket to throw from, and interior pressure ruins that more than anything. I'm really encouraged by the way their tackles have played. Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones looked great in their limited time in the preseason. They seem to play well in the joint practices. They're both young. They're both athletic. They both can do pretty much anything you want them to. They still have room to improve, obviously, but I really think those two form a really encouraging tandem for what they're going for this year. So I'm excited to see them play some actual games.
Yeah, you and I both. It's going to be it's fun, to see these youngsters, and we might have tackles for the next 10 to 12 years, and how awesome is that to finally have those two bookends settled, because it's to find those two bookends. I mean, not very many NFL teams have two good ones. No, trust me, I'm not putting our guys in Canton or all pro status. I'm just saying they're good. Mm-hmm. All right. How many teams in the NFL have two good tackles, and so it's if we're ahead of the game at that particular point. So I'm really, really happy with what Ryan Poles has done, how he's constructed this team, him being adamant about constructing it his way. The hell with what me, you, and everybody else says. It's kudos to him. The switch sides of the ball, defensive side of the ball. There's some guys who still aren't playing. Tremaine Edmonds isn't playing. He's a big free agent acquisition. But then they brought in another guy. Talk to me. Are you concerned about Tremaine Edmonds? Or is it just, like Coach Eberflus said, he should be ready for week 1?
I'm not concerned about Tremaine Edmonds. We already know what he is. He's a great player. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's in his prime. I think the Bears are just being cautious with him. That they saw enough early in camp to realize, yeah, this guy's a stud. So we don't really need to, push him forward with anything. He knows this type of defense. He knows what he's going to do. So he's that kind of talent where you don't have to worry about him practicing too much because you know what you're going to get. So no, I'm not worried about him. TJ Edwards has been healthy. Noah Sewell's really been standing out, which is great to hear. He's looking more like the guy he was in 2021, which makes me wonder what happened last year wasn't just scheme related. It was probably injury related too. He might not have been playing completely healthy. Now he is. He looks faster. He's instinctive. He's getting pressure on the quarterback a lot because he's blitzing. So that's really encouraging. And I really love their depth at linebacker as well. You know, Micah Walker, they just signed from Atlanta. I think he's a great pickup for a depth piece. So, you know, I really love the way they've constructed that entire position. And I fully expect Edmonds will be 100% ready to go come week 1 against the Packers.
Yeah, and then also let's not forget that just because the guys are backup doesn't mean that they can't be in specialty packages. Like, you know, if you get a NASCAR package, or if you know, they throw in a couple of tight ends, you could throw in an extra linebacker in there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways that you can use. Like I personally, I'm hoping Coach Williams sees Noah Sewell, because Noah Sewell's come off the edge before. He's rushed before he had the system change, you know, at Oregon. That was a real big hindrance to him. But man, imagine him and someone and Yannick Ngakoue coming off the corner and them stunting. I mean, things like that are get me excited as a former defensive coordinator. Like, you got studs. You can go to slim down the NASCAR route and really, really, really put offensive lines in a bind, because you're going to get guards who are dealing with guys who they're not used to dealing with those fast guys. Big, strong guys, yeah. Big, explosive, powerful guys, yeah. But faster guys, that could be an issue for some of the offensive linemen that they may face. Talk to me. Let's move one level forward. Talk to me about that defensive line. Yannick Ngakoue didn't play; they're still ramping him up. But talk to me about how you feel about these youngsters. You know, Javon Dexter is looking good. Has had a really good camp. So should we call him Sack Pickens? SACCH, Sack Pickens, after his sack in the preseason game 1. You had a sack from Bell, the kid from Kennesaw State. You had, I mean, these youngsters. Talk to me about the interior, the defensive line, and the interior. And Mr. Walker outside said, "Hey, don't forget about me. I know we got Yannick Ngakoue, but I got some skills too." Talk to me about that front line and what kind of production you think they may have this season.
The most important thing I noticed about this defensive line is their depth is so much better, especially along the interior. Andrew Billings, I think, is going to be exactly what he's been forever, which is a really solid nose tackle. He's going to stop the run. He's been doing that his entire career, so that's great. Justin Jones, I think, will still be a quality interior pass rusher presence and a good leader. He's really emerging as that, which is something that they really needed up front. And then Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens have really look like they're ahead of the game in terms of their development. Pickens had the sack against Tennessee, which was awesome. And what really stood out about it was he wasn't unblocked. He was double teamed, and he still split it using his length, using his speed, and got him from behind. So that gave you a glimpse of what the Bears see in him in the future. He's not there yet. Same as Javon Dexter. Matt Eberflus said it perfectly. Their problem isn't talent. Their problem is consistency from snap to snap. And they're not there yet, which you would expect with rookies. But the fact that they're already making these types of plays early is a great sign for what they're probably going to be, midway through the season, when they start to figure out how to go from week to week, how to prepare properly, all that sort of stuff. So it's really encouraging to see them at this point already. And I really think their talent is going to carry them forward to something. I don't know if they're going to both be stars, but I think they're at least going to be good rotational pieces for the Bears. And I definitely think Dexter has the capability to be something special if he fully unlocks that potential of his. And DeMarcus Walker, I think his vocal presence alone was worth signing him, because he's clearly fired them up way more than anybody could have last year. This defense is flying on every single play, and you can see it from practice to practice. They're jawing, they're flying to the football, all 11 bodies. They look more and more like that Lovie Smith defense that they had back in the 2000s, all 11 hats to the football. And he's a big reason why. He's pushing everybody. He's telling everybody to work. He's firing them up, and they needed that kind of vocal presence. So I really love what Ryan Poles has done and Matt Eberflus has done in rebuilding that defensive front. I still think they're lacking a true superstar, but I fully expect them to be way better as a unit than they were last year.
Okay. My guy Cornelius wants to know, do you think they've solved their issue at the D end or the edge rusher?
for this year, I like Yannick Ngakoue. I think he's a really solid pass rusher. He's going to probably get you 8 to 10 sacks, which is great. But, you know, in terms of a true all-around star player, I still think they're lacking that. I don't quite put them in that category. But in terms of fitting everything they need this year, they've checked all the boxes. They've got their speed rusher. They've got their power rusher. Their interior presence is good. I still think they need that true 3 technique. I don't think Justin Jones is going to be that guy. I don't know if Pickens or Dexter will be that guy, but you need a Quentin Williams or somebody of that caliber to truly take this defense to the level that you want them to get to. And I still think they're probably a year away from finding that.
Yeah, so we just got a roof. Let's go Carolina. Suck up the joint. Let's go Carolina.
Hell yeah.
Let's go. Let's move to the back end. You know what? You talked about them being a little more active, being a little more aggressive. And I think it started with that secondary. Last year, they were definitely the strength of this team. Eddie Jackson was back last year, and he looked really good before he went out. The rookies, Kyler Gordon looked really good after he cut his teeth. He went through trials and tribulations early until he got his footing, got accustomed to the NFL. Jalen Johnson still is a stud. Talk to me about that back end, because they added some pieces. All right, they added some pieces who fit right in. Guys are big, physical. They had that swag as well, and they really, really like to make big plays, not just tackle, make plays, turnovers, picks. These guys are playmakers, not just tacklers, but playmakers. Talk to me about that back end and the competition from that other corner spot.
Mm-hmm. I genuinely think the secondary is going to be the strength of this team. They have so much quality young talent back there now. Jalen Johnson's still a quality corner. That hasn't changed. Eddie Jackson, we saw last year, 4 interceptions in only 12 games. So he's still at that Pro Bowl level, despite, the unfortunate drought he went through the previous couple of years. So that's great to see. Jaquan Brisker, right out of the gate, was playing like a stud. 4 sacks, a big-time interception. I think he was second on the team in tackles, so we know he's going to be good. Kyler Gordon's probably had the best camp of anybody this year. He's been playing out of his mind. In the most recent practice in one-on-ones, he had a great interception during one-on-one drills, so he's playing with so much confidence. And then now you got Tyreek Stevenson, who had the best game of anybody in the first preseason opener against the Titans. 7 tackles, big-time pass breakup, tackle for a loss. He seems like that Cortland Finnegan type of guy, that pest that everybody hates, that is going to play with so much fire and intensity. And I really love that about him. I think he's going to be a perfect fit for this defense. And then on top of all of that, you've got Terrell Smith, who's also been having a great camp. The other rookie that they have, unfortunately, he didn't get to play in the preseason opener because of an injury, but he's back now. I expect he's going to play against the Colts. So you've got depth. You've got athleticism, you've got intensity, you've got, physicality, you've got everything you could want in a good secondary. So I'm excited to see what they do this year.
Man, you, me, and the rest of Bears Nation are really, really excited about it, because the attitude and the swag, the confidence that they're playing with, they might not be as, I don't want to say talented. They might not have gelled yet, like the way they're going to gel by mid-season, toward the end of the season. But man, you make one mistake. You make one mistake with his defense. You miss out. You screw up a stunt, a TE stunt, an ET stunt, and these guys are getting your quarterback quick. That ball is probably going to come out sooner. If it does, these guys are all over it. I love the fact that the ball hawks are ready. I love the fact that they waited. Had to wait last year. They were still making plays last year. Not so many picks, but still making PBUs and pass breakups. For those who are not sure, when they had no pass rush. Now they got it in Ngakoue. Now they got a Walker. Now they got guys in the interior who can collapse the pocket, who can from the inside and the outside. This ball's going to come out a lot sooner, a lot quicker than many quarterbacks want. And these guys are just are hungry enough and aggressive enough to really, really make the offense hurt and give Justin Fields short fields. No pun intended. Talk to me about speaking of that guy, Justin Fields. Your thoughts on him, his connection with DJ Moore so far, and his other wide receivers. We didn't get to talk to him, and I want to talk about him for a second.
Justin, I expect a much improved year from him. If the offensive line is even slightly better than they were last year, I think this cast of weapons that they've put together for him is going to make him a far better passer than he was a year ago. DJ Moore, you don't really need to say much. He's an absolute stud. The fact that Ryan Poles got him in that trade is an absolute steal already, and he hasn't even played a meaningful down for them yet. He's going to make life so much easier for Darnell Mooney. He's going to make life easier for Chase Claypool because he's going to be drawing coverages his way because he keeps getting open. So that alone will be a big help. Robert Tonyan, I think, is an underrated addition because of his pass catching ability. So now you've got two tight ends who can, catch the ball, especially on third down in the red zone. So that increases the quality of their weapons in that regard, because I think red zone was a big problem for them last year. So all in all, I really love what they've pieced together in terms of the weaponry for Justin. So if he gets the protection necessary and he is able to stay in the pocket more rather than having to run for his life like he did last year, I fully expect him to have, I don't know about an MVP season like a lot of people are saying, but I expect him to be considerably better as a passer. I'm talking 3,500 plus yards, probably 25 touchdowns in that range, which I think would be outstanding in terms of improvement for him and a great step forward and, confirmation of what he truly is, which is a top flight quarterback in this league. I think he can be.
Yeah, we're similar. I had 32 to 3,500 yards. The only reason I think it won't be more is I think that they're really going to force the issue on the ground. I think they're going to make sure that they really, really pound the ball and really force the defense to show their hand and bring another guy in the box before they do that. But 32, 3,500, I said 20 to 25 TDs. So yeah, we're right on pace. And I think that's for him. If he goes beyond that, I mean, that's great. If he goes beyond that, it'll probably be because of the defense, giving him short fields, giving him, 30, 40, 50 yards to go for a touchdown. And you just can't give good quarterbacks. And I believe Justin is a good quarterback on the way to be a great one. You can't give good quarterbacks short fields. You just can't. That extra 20 or 30 yards makes a whole lot of difference. And the more often we get shorter fields, the more often Justin Fields can use the body of a Chase Claypool, because Chase Claypool is never going to be doubled. They're never going to double team him. Darnell Mooney, they're never going to double team him. All right. Because if you do, well, then we all know who the ball's going to, and that's number 2. So there's no way in God's green earth that defensive coordinators can ever not double team or shade a safety over to DJ Moore. And that's why you mentioned you congratulated Ryan Poles, because that's why he got him. So now everybody else can eat. And just when you think about it, here DJ Moore can still eat even with the double team. Yep. Man, this is awesome. I love, I've said it ad nauseum. The competition that Ryan Poles has created at every single position group is literally insane. And not to say that we're perfect, because I think we need a 3-tech as well. But we got 2 first-round picks next year. We can go address that next year, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal season, and it's going to be one to watch. It's going to be probably the most exciting one we've had probably since Cutler was with Forte and Marshall and Jeffrey, and since those years. So it's going to be awesome, man. Hey, Eric, great stuff as always, buddy. Do me a favor though, before you go, let everyone know where they can find you work online.
You can find me at sportsmockery.com, as he's so fond of saying every time. I write there all the time, 5 to 6 articles daily, so you can always find something good to read. And if you want to talk to me about football, at Eric Lambert 1 on Twitter, or X as we call it now, I guess. And feel free to hit me up, and we'll talk some football.
Eric, great stuff, Papa. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch soon.
Anytime, Shawn.
Thank you. Guys, that's Eric Lambert from Sports Mockery joining us, talking Bears football. I'm fired up, man. I'm really, really fired up. This is a situation where, we are in a good spot. We're in a spot where we haven't been in a long time. We've been in spots where the team has been okay or been good, but look at the depth. It's not just the depth. Look at the youth. See, back when we had Cutler, Forte, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, all those guys were veterans, 26, 27, 28. Not old, just veterans. These guys are young. These guys are 22, 23, 25. Look at this. This team is built for success over the next decade. Built for success. And something we haven't had here in Chicago, a team built for success, young talent. I mean, we saw the trials and tribulations that Kyle Gordon went through last year, Jaquan Brisker. Okay, we saw it. Okay, but we knew that had to happen for them to get to the point now where they're at. Kyler Gordon is playing with some unbelievable confidence. And then I think after Coach Eberflus gave him the nickname Spider-Man, I think his confidence is even higher, is greater if you can even fathom that point. You know, he's jumping up, giving people spider webs and stuff. I mean, he's loving it. He's loving this defense. He's loving his teammates. He's loving the defensive side of the ball, this group that he's playing with. He realizes he can be part of an extremely, extremely, extremely special defense. All right. Any guys out here who play defense, you know how it is. You want to get, not only do you want to get the ball back, you want house calls. All right. You want house calls. All right. So you go right back on the field. All right. Talking that same shit again. Like, oh man, am I going to get another pick on you? I thought you were quick, dog. How come you didn't catch me? What happened? What happened? Where you were? You know what I mean? There's so many different coaching defense. Remember, I played running back my whole life. Coaching defense gave me a little more of an appreciation for that side of the ball because I hated defense. I hated them because they're always doing dumb shit like knocking the ball out of your hand after you get up from the ground, or just stupid stuff that will get under your skin. But when I started coaching it, I understood. It's an attitude, a swag. It's anything you can do to get an edge in your opponent, and it's just great to see. Well, listen, let's take a quick break, and then on the other side of the break, we have more sports conversation. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago.
Off the fake. Fields against the grain. Finds Jesse James. Field. With time. Delivers down the field. One way and Fields stumbling. Trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown.
911, operator 901. Where's the emergency?
127 Brynmere.
Okay, what's going on there?
I'd like to order a pizza for delivery.
Ma'am, you've reached 911. This is an emergency line.
Large with half pepperoni, half mushroom.
You know you've called 911. This is an emergency line.
Do you know how long it'll be?
Okay, ma'am, is everything okay over there? Do you have an emergency or not?
Yes.
And you're unable to talk because...
Right.
Is there someone in the room with you? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I have an officer about a mile from your location. Are there any weapons in your house?
No.
Can you stay on the phone with me?
No. See you soon. Thank you.
Hey, it's your boy, the SuperBack, Shawn Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
When I'm flying, I put my helmet on, my visor down, my mask up. You don't know who I am. Whether I'm African American, Asian American, Hispanic, white, male or female. You just know I'm an American airman kicking your butt. I'm General C.Q. Brown Jr. Come join us.
Play fake to Haskins. He's got time. Look at end zone. Deflected and picked off. off the hands of Josh Wiley and intercepted. Willis, and he has that ball punched out loose from the backside. It is Bears football. Year 2 to year 3, etc. What do you like to see from your position in a front office as an executive as you see a big run here, breaking loose? Peterman lost it, got a man in Ford. Big block, get rewarded with a big pass play. Isaiah Ford.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago. Those clips courtesy of Fox. That was the good guys. The good guys. I like it. I like it a lot. Preseason game 1, which I was at over at Soldier Field. It was a great time. I got to spend it with my cousins. One of my cousins who was in, actually left last night. Who was in from California for 10 days. And then 2 more of my cousins, 2 other ones who lived here as well, got to go and hang out and watch the game. It was great time spending time with family and also catching the Chicago Bears. We just got done with Eric Lambert, okay, from Sports Mockery, talking Bears football. And you know what, he was man. So no matter, you went to Indy. No, I went to Indy. Oh, went to Indy, took over the territory. I thought she said you went to Indy. You know what was really funny? I said it on the show on Wednesday. Like, anyone want to go to Indy with me? Because I would go. I didn't want to go drive down there by myself. I mean, obviously I knew I would have run into people I knew, but yeah, I was looking for someone to go to with me. I wanted to see. Nomad, you said, what time is the game tomorrow? I want to say noon. Yeah. No, 6 o'clock. Damn, it should be noon. What the hell? All right, 6 o'clock on Fox tomorrow. I'm looking at the paper right now. 6 p.m. Fox 32. Okay, I guess. No, the other way, Brandon. The other way. You're going left. 2 hours. You're 2 hours behind us. So yeah. So it would be 6 o'clock our time. Yeah, it's on NFL Network, and don't worry. Hey, on NFL Network, but it's also being broadcast here on our local station, Fox 32. So, you know, in that clip that coming out of break, you know, Terrell Lewis had 2 sacks on last week on Saturday. Had a sack, 2 sacks, but also had a forced fumble as well. That's that dude. All right, guys, I've been on him since when they signed him. When they signed him, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. The Bears got him? If you've been following my show, you know how I've been on a soapbox screaming the talents of this guy. All right. He was a stud at Alabama. He was unable to play to the level he did at Alabama when he got to the NFL due to injury. He was with the Rams due to injury. He's healthy now. He's healthy and he's fine. He's trying to make his NFL dream come true because he hasn't had his second contract. All right. He wants a big contract and he's going to do everything he can. He may or may not get it. I don't know. But you keep rushing the passer like he has, he's going to get an extension. All right, you keep being that pain in the ass, that one. And he ended up turning out to be, I don't want to say a superstar, okay? He may end up being a star. He may end up being a guy that you're going to have to game plan around. Because if he's the guy you have to game plan around. And Yannick Ngakoue is a guy who hasn't had anything less than 8 sacks in his 8-year career. Now you got an issue. You know, he has all the talent. He has all the tools. Can he put it together? Is this a system that he thrives in? So you're putting a guy in a system who's fighting for his NFL life or trying to find a spot, land a spot. And I'll tell you what, most of the guys on this defense like this defense. They like their teammates. They like that squad. They like that side of the ball. And when you're in a comfortable position, I get it. It's the NFL. And you're trying to make money. You got to make money to feed you and your family and your peoples. I get it. But when you're building something special, you want to be part of it. You want to be part of it. And guys are they're competing. Brand, I saw that and the word came to mind. I saw it. You want to be elite, you have to compete. All right, they're competing. They want to be here. They see the writing on the wall. They know where this defense is going. They know exactly where this defense is going. And they know exactly where this offense is going too, which means this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Most likely next year, they're going to be one of the favorites in the NFC. And if you can get the Terrell Lewis coming out of Alabama, now maybe you don't have to go address the edge rusher position, or maybe you do, and now you got two studs. What if Yannick Ngakoue wants to stay here? What if he's like, man, I found a home? He's been on four teams, 5 teams in his 5-year career, three teams in his 5-year career. Maybe he wants to stop freaking moving and settle down. And maybe he vibe with these people, with this defense. Maybe he vibe with Eddie Jackson. All right, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. Maybe he just vibe with them. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, you know what? I want to stay here. And imagine that if Terrell Lewis can get back to where he was as coming out of Alabama, and Yannick Ngakoue signs an extension, and you go get another edge rusher next year, and a 3-tech. Come on, man. Now you're cooking, and they're playing with house money. That defense is going to be something nasty, and they're all young and all under contract for a long time. Well, probably 3 to 4 years if you're drafted. 3 years, maybe 2. But you got this defense together for a minute. There's so many good things going on about this, and it's really got me excited. Shorty, after Justin wins MVP this year, there would definitely be NFC favorites next year. Hey, you know what? From your lips to God's ears, man. I'll tell you. And you know what? I am not putting it past him. I'm not. Because here's the thing I don't think it's a big, crazy take. You've all heard of the phrase, the sum is greater than its parts, right? But we also all know, most of us have played football and we've lived it, that there are elements, okay, when combined with other elements, give them a lot more strength. Basically the same thing. The sum is greater than the parts. Okay. So you add this and this, and it creates a crazy, compound. Just these two things. And separate, they're nothing. Okay, or they're minimal. The Justin Fields, DJ Moore combination, 1-2 punch, is going to be that exact situation. Okay. Justin Fields, it's been 2+ seasons. Well, 2 years ago, he was at Ohio State. It's been 2.5 years since he's had a receiver like DJ Moore. He had a shitload of them at Ohio State, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't had one since. DJ Moore hasn't had a quarterback in his career in the NFL like Justin Fields. Those two together, it's going to be magic. It's going to be magic. We've seen it in practice. We saw it in the first preseason game. Wait. The play, and remember, people have argued about the question about the talent or where you would want to place DJ Moore. Well, he's the number 1 receiver, but he's not a Jamar Chase. He's not a Tyreek Hill. He's not a whoever else you want to put in there. How do you know that? How do you know? Because Jamar Chase has his college quarterback. So he's got a lot of years with him, and a great quarterback he is. Excuse me. Give DJ Moore a great quarterback like Justin Fields. Who knows what he can become? Who knows how great of a wide receiver he can be? So when people are saying, well, DJ Moore's in that second tier of number one receivers, or how do you, but his production alone with the quarterbacks that he's had should put him in the top tier of wide receivers, hands down. Because you give Jamar Chase, you give Justin Jefferson 7, 8 different quarterbacks in 5 years. Do they have the same numbers as him? Do they still average 1,000 yards a season with those under those circumstances? Me personally, I say no. Not to say that they're not great. I just don't think that they're blowing the roof off this thing if there's no consistency at quarterback for those guys. DJ Moore's done it with inconsistent quarterback play his entire 5-year career. And not to mention, Brandon, dude, I was just about to say this, my man Brandon from the left coast. In addition to, and we talked about it with Eric, in addition to, you got Chase Claypool, who's 6'4" with a 38-inch vertical. So now what are you going to do in the red zone? Oh, by the way, you got Robert Tonyan. Oh, by the way, you got Cole Kmet. And by the way, let's not get it twisted. You still got Tyler Scott. You still got Bayless Jones. All these guys can score. Get them a little crossing routes, chase them. But you got a solid number 2 receiver like Brandon saying here. Whether it be Darnell Mooney, whether it be Chase Claypool just going up and get it in the red zone or for key third downs, you cannot double team Chase Claypool. You cannot. Because if you don't double team DJ Moore, it's going to him. And and he showed you. He's shown you. Give me the damn ball. Because I'll make a damn play. He's shown you that. He's not a guy, and this is why it's so important that pick, because you don't have to worry, can he be great? You're not drafting him saying, can he play at the next level? He was great at this level. And we saw that. The first day they put on pads, the first spring training, I said spring training, the first preseason game, you saw it. This is going to be disgusting. What are you going to do? And let's not forget Bayless Jones and Tyler Scott running little crossing, little pick routes, underneath routes. Get it to them and have them run? Come on now. I told you, I would love to be Luke Getsy. You have tons and tons of talent. I would love to be Coach Williams. You have tons and tons of talent. How creative are you going to be? How creative are you going to be? Offensively, defensively? And defensively, I mean on third down. You're not going to, first and second down, all right, you're stopping the run. You stop to run a first down, probably going to run it or maybe pass it because they're 2nd and 8. You keep teams in 2nd and 8, the teams are going to want to run the ball 2nd and 8 a lot. They're going to want to get some of that back so third down can be minimal. These guys, Brandon's you're going to make me buy Madden today so I can start repping this, how the season will play out. Oh my God, man. Yeah. DJ as a decoy because he commands 2 people, period. Are you going to be the defensive coordinator that decides not to double team him? Are you going to be the defensive coordinator who decides not to shade the safety over his way? Is that going to be you as a defensive coordinator? And then he beats your ass. He just destroys you because you didn't have the safety. You didn't have him bracketed. You didn't have the safety shaded over. They're going to look at you like, what the hell were you thinking? This is DJ Moore. And because you do that, Chase Claypool, you better eat. This is your contract year. Darnell Mooney, you better eat. This is your contract year. Robert Tonyan, you better eat. You got a whole city and a team to impress, seeing that you came from up north. Robert or Cole Kmet, you better eat. You just got that big contract after one good year. Tyler Scott, you want to stay here for a long time? You want to make an impression? You better eat. Everybody's got a shot. Everybody's got a reason. Everyone's got a reason. And that's got me excited. Man, DJ as a decoy. You know, and I'm a little sad, but then again, I have to take it with a grain of salt. You know, you get everyone, it bugs me when you get these non-football people. It bothers me, and I know I say that a lot. But they know how to get clicks. Oh, Justin Fields is 6 for 6 in 7-on-7. Justin Fields is this and this. 7-on-7, it's nice, but there's no pressure. Okay? They're running vanilla. The basic foundation of this offense is what they're running in these team practices. So the fact that that people have written that, oh, they didn't look very good, okay, I take it with a grain of salt. First of all, I need to see the source. Because I don't trust everybody when they tell me about football. Oh, he didn't look good. He did this. He did that. Okay. Everyone's talking about Leatherwood. When I watched Leatherwood on Sunday, I watched him maul his men, get up to the second level. And people are talking about, oh, Leatherwood might be cut. I'm like, why? Not from what I saw. And believe you me, I'll take my analysis of football over most people, just about everyone. There are a lot of guys who are probably as good as me. Very few who are better. A lot of guys who are as good as me. Very few who are better. So I need my eyes to see. My eyes to see. And that's why I was asking. Anyone wanted to go to Indy? No, man, I should have called you. I should have reached out to you. Let's go down to Indy. Just go down and come back. So in the future, you know what? If they play Indy next year, or if they play, you know, I'm telling you, when I was at the game and I was at camp, Alex Leatherwood, first of all, you didn't hear his name. You didn't hear his name, which is good. Holding this guy, offside, false start, whatever. Didn't hear his name. That's for starters. That's a great thing. And two, when I watched came home, watched the game, dude, he is getting into his guy, getting up to the next level, cutting guys off. And then people this morning on the radio are like, yeah, he's on the bubble. I'm like, he's on the bubble. This is why you don't get people who don't know football to talk about football. Like, don't ask me to talk about rocket science, because I'm not a rocket. I don't know shit about rocket science. I've seen rockets go up in the air. I've watched them take off from Cape Canaveral my whole life, but I don't know shit about rocket science. He's another one who looks comfortable. He's a guy who wants to stay. He's a guy who's found a place. And if you can find a place, in the NFL, especially, not just offensive line, any position, you're one play away from getting in. You're one play away from getting in and taking it to the house. By taking it to the house, I mean running it the rest of the season. One guy gets hurt. It lingers. Oh, man, he's out for the season. Man, that 1 or 2 game stint that you did just turns into the rest of the year. Now you make your mark. So listening to people like that, it's frustrating. Yeah, it is. But you have to understand the source. So it's not as frustrating for me anymore, because when I hear people say things, I'm like, okay, it's him. Okay, it's him. I got to take that with a grain of salt. Real quick before we get out of here, hey, man, this chat has been jumping. Nomad hopping in here. Brandon Levinson coming in from the left coast. All right, I love it. Shorty's back in town. Mr. Shorty's back in town. All right, my guy Armando, my guy Junior, Armando Lara Jr. You know what I mean? This chat has been, whew, you guys are on it, doggone it. I love it. I mean, looking at Charles Edward Bingham McDavid Sr., he's in the house. That's what I'm talking. The car god himself, Cornelius Squalls. Man, you guys are on it, doggone it. One of the things I want to just real quick before we finish up, got about a little less than 5 minutes here. Baseball season. I mean, baseball. All right, the Cubs are in the stretch. I said it earlier in the top of the morning segment. The Cubs are in a stretch right now where they need to eat. They should have taken two out of 2 from the White Sox. Now they're in a situation where they need to sweep. All right, you got Kansas City at home. Kansas City sucks. You need to take all 3 out of Kansas City. Then you go to Detroit. Detroit sucks. Then you go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh sucks. I mean, here's where the Cubs, first of all, should thank and pray, be thankful to the baseball gods. They got this stretch of just shitty teams. Shitty teams. Remember I talked to you about this last week? They're smack dab in the middle of it. Smack dab in the middle. You come out because you got 4 at Pittsburgh, 5, 6, 7, Detroit, 8, 9, 10, and 12 with the White Sox. So you're 1-1. You should have been 2-0. You can go on a 10-2 run, 11-1 run. Cubs do that, they're in first place. Cubs do that, they're in first place. And then they just have to maintain it throughout the rest of the year. White Sox, on the other hand, what's there to say? What's there to say? Except bring up some guys that, give them some time in the show, so you can send them down to Double-A next year, and then maybe bring them up at the end of the year. But there's nothing to say. This organization is full of shit. This organization doesn't care about the fans. This organization doesn't care about anything but making money. As much as I'd love to have a boycott, the whole first series, the home opening series, especially opening day first and foremost. I want a bear in there. Less fans than there are now. Give me like 2,000 fans in a whole stadium. And it's not going to matter because they made $276 million last year. So if they drop to 250, oh boy, they're in the welfare line. But just to make a point, say, hey, we're tired of this nonsense. It's going to be a really, really warm weekend. I gave you the temperatures already. It's going to be 80 today. And after that, it's 90s. It's 90s. No, 85 tomorrow, 93 Sunday, 90 Monday, 92 Tuesday, 95 Wednesday, 92 Thursday. It's hot here in the Chi. So you know what? Enjoy it. Get out. There's festivals. There's a Pilsen Fest this weekend. I'll probably hit that. I'm going to my cousin's on Sunday, getting in his pool, hang out in the pool out there. Man, if you got someone with a pool, hit them up. Not, go to the beach. All right? You got the beaches here in Chicago. If you want to drive around, you can go to beaches in Indiana. You can go to beaches in Michigan. You got it. We got it. Okay, you got your son's jamboree tomorrow, weekend of football. Great stuff. Great stuff, B. Great stuff. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, 2 hours is come and gone. I want to thank my guest, Eric Lambert from Sports Mockery, for coming on, talking Bears football. And I want to thank you guys for coming on and jumping on and just keeping this chat room jumping. All right? I love it. And I appreciate it. Enjoy this weekend. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. All right? Low to mid 80s, high 90, low 90s on Sunday. Beautiful. Enjoy your family, your friends, your loved ones. Okay? Please do. You don't know how long you have left. Man, those of you know, I just had my aunt just recently passed, and that was my mom's best friend, and that was one of my, my godmother. And it's tough. We're still going through it. So when I say make sure you spend time with your loved ones, do that, man. You just never know. All right? Well, guys, for everyone here at Sports Zone Chicago, from Elliot Baez, our executive producer, to Clarence Council III, our social media guy, and to Maya, my co-host, I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra. Guys, have a phenomenal weekend. I will see you guys on Monday. Same bad time, same bad channel. And guess what, folks? Summer of Shawn is still going on. Bad Boy Summer is still going on. I'll see you on Monday, though. Your boy, the Superback. I'm out.